The 9th Nigerian National Assembly has been inaugurated. They have a huge task ahead of them, speaking of security, the economy, and other issues that Nigeria faces. However, what really are the expectations of Nigerians from this new senators? I am Mary Anacol, and this is Plus Politics. Now, today we witnessed the inauguration of the 9th National Assembly. We saw winners and we saw some very sour losers. Well, joining me to have this conversation, I have in the studio Princess Adebisi Ogunsanya. She's a political analyst. It's good to have you join us. Thanks for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
And also we have a friend here, Segun Shopita, political analyst, and also of ACT Network. It's good to have you join us, Segun.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so let's just skip the pleasantries and just go straight to the nitty-gritty of today's conversation, because everybody I woke up to social media, aghast with a lot of tweets and hashtags of the National Assembly. And on a lighter note, there is an Arab man with the handle NAS, and a lot of Nigerians mistake him for the National Assembly's handle. He got a lot of hits today. He had 50,000 followers because of, But we have seen that Ahmed Lawan has, emerged for the Senate. We have Femi Gbajabiamila, finally. I'm sure that he's going to sleep well tonight because finally he's gotten what he wanted. Has also emerged as a speaker. A lot of people didn't go well for a lot of people. We could see Senator Dume leaving angrily after, the announcement of who won as the Senate president. But I'll start with you, Princess. You, at some point in your life, decided to run for the Lagos State Assembly. Let's start with the people that make up this new National Assembly. Let's start with the Senate. We saw the roll call this morning. We have people who are coming back again, and we have newbies in the Senate. From the look of these people, what expectations do you have for the 9th Senate?
Well, thank you, and good evening, viewers, once again. As a matter of fact, I ran for the gubernatorial
you
position.
ran for the gubernatorial, not the House of Assembly?
Yes,
yes, I remember.
Of Lagos State.
Yes, I remember.
As a politician or a politically inclined person, it is a known fact that there will be winners and there will be losers in every situation. The position being competed for is just one, and only one person can fill that position. The expectation of Nigerians about the new assembly, first and foremost of priority, is the security of the nation, security of people's lives and properties, and enactment of essential laws that will really take this nation forward. Which are many, quite a number of legislative instruments were passed to the president by the outgoing house, which needs to be thoroughly looked into. So the expectations of Nigerians are very high. We want the legislators to see their positions as working for the nation and not working for their party or their,
We'll get to that point where we talk about, who they're working for. But let's come back to what happened on the floor this morning. A lot of people seem to be really happy to be back. We saw the former Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who also threw his hat into the ring today to run for Deputy Senate President again. And we saw some newcomers, and but everybody seemed to be, somewhat happy. We don't see the atmosphere as tense as it was in the last, the 8th Assembly. Why do you think so?
Well, I think it's largely because the intrigues. You know, usually when you have this type of an inauguration, and you know that the first business of the assembly for that day is selection of the leaders or election of the leaders. So obviously there's going to be a lot of horse trading, intrigues, and all that. For 2015, it was almost Gestapo style secrecy with some of the things that happened, you know, and leading up onto the selection of the immediate past Senate president. So yes, there was a lot of tension, party position, Senate position, and all that. But it would appear as though the APC learned their lessons from that, and they appear to have managed this process much better.
Did they? Because, you know, at the beginning, we heard what Oshomole, the party chairman, had said that we want this and we want that, and this is what it's going to be. And that didn't really go down well. So I'm wondering, at what point did they find some form of, you know, compromise, a point where everybody decided that we're going to have a synergy of sorts?
Absolutely. You know, I think that Mr. Adams Oshiomhole is who he is. You know, we're all you know, well familiar with his personality. I can give a bit, but you know, he's a very gregarious, enthusiastic individual.
We'll have to check that word.
He's a very enthusiastic person. You know, he doesn't mince words. He says what he wants to say. You know, from his labor leader days, he's always been like that. He's very opinionated, and then he just says it as it is. You know, it rubs off wrongly on a lot of people, and I think that's what is done again with this. I think that a lot of the negotiations, horse trading, and you know, exchange of positions, whatever happened, had already happened beneath the scenes. Mr. Oshiomhole did not need to say those things that he was saying. I saw him on TV again this morning saying the Senate president is going to be Ahmed Lawan. You know, you don't need to do that because it's not up to you.
That's right.
The senators and the House of Reps members that will elect, you know, their leaders. So you don't need to say that. As the party leader, I appreciate what it's trying to do. It's important to have a strong party, but you don't need to be so in our faces about it. You know, it's a bit crass, you know, for my liking. I think he needs to learn to tone it down when it comes to the communication part of his job. You know, he rubs off wrongly on people and other, but aside that,
too autocratic.
Yeah, almost he comes off as being autocratic. But aside from that, I think that the party has done better. As you can see from the results that then came off, in spite of the fact that Senator Aline Dume gave it a good fight, and I think we must all appreciate him for that, because we definitely don't want an election that is just one person and
it's a walkover.
Rubber stamp legislature.
We didn't want to see that. So it's a very good thing that he gave it a good contest. But then, you know, the results, 79 to 28, shows that the party did a good job. That's the evidence. So I think that's the reason for the lack of tension. I think the decision had been made before today, and everybody knew, everybody in quotes,
what they wanted,
what was going to happen. So no tension.
Let's talk about the individuals who have emerged. Let's start with the Senate president. Is he? I mean, we've seen him. I don't think this is his first time, but. Does he, you know, I'm trying to look for the best words to say this. Does he fit that office, and do we see him carrying everyone along? You know, I heard people talking today, we were trying to get reactions on social media, which we will put out later, as to who, you know, what Nigerians think about these people who have been fronted for this office, and how they will be able to relate with and carry along members of their, you know, their house, both the upper and the lower house. So let's start with the Senate president.
Well, Senator Lawan, he spoke today, because whatever he's been in the House before. Yeah. And he's come along for quite some time. He's occupied chairmanship of, you know, a couple of committees. Yes. And he's not a totally novice to the affairs of the House. But one of the things he said today, which the general public and Nigerians will take to bed, is that he wants to run an all-inclusive Senate whose paramount interest will be Nigeria first and Nigerian people, and he's willing to work with all the senators. The concern of most Nigerians will be that he will be able to keep to those words, and that we see it affected in everything that he does.
We have leaders who come out when they're inaugurated, and the surprising thing is that most times we never pay attention to the wordings of the oaths that they take, because those oaths are those words are supposed to be very binding.
Yes.
I mean, I listen to every bit of it, but I wonder to myself, because every politician we have in power has taken one oath or the other, but they turn out to be the opposite of those oaths, and it makes us really wonder if they take those oaths seriously. Anybody can say, I will do this and that, and then 4 years down the line, they haven't even scratched the surface. So should we be holding on to anything?
Oh yes, Nigerians are getting. And
I don't want to sound
Nigerians are getting more enlightened.
Like a pessimist.
No. Nigerians are getting more enlightened. They are beginning to know what their rights are. They have followed up with the process today. A lot of us sat glued to the process. And I can assure you that wherever he goofed, it will not only be within the floor, even when they seem to palliate with it, he's going to see Nigerians accusing him and telling him, you've goofed, you've gone offline, you are working against the oath you took, you know, your trust or responsibility. The first person is to the Nigerian government and of course the Nigerian people. So I don't think where they choose to deviate from their oaths, they're going to get away with it this time.
Okay. It means there's something cooking in the kitchen then. But let's talk about omo-agege, the mace carrier. He has emerged as the Deputy Senate President. And I see a lot of interesting tweets on Twitter saying, last, the mace has come back to worry. I'm just saying, did you see that coming?
I didn't see that coming. I must be very honest. I never saw that coming. Omo-agege, you know, the name just came out of nowhere. Up until 2 weeks ago, we felt that it was likely to be somebody from the southeast.
Delta.
Yeah, you know, we thought the party would zone it to the southeast, but you know, because of the balancing and zoning thing, and with a lot of the noise in quotes that Senator Orji Uzor had been making, in quotes, with all due respect to him. So, and it made sense, you know, to balance the thing and all that. So, to then find that in the last week and a half, the party decided it was South-South, and that, you know, the name Omo-agege suddenly started flying around. It was surprising, especially given
the pre-drama, you know, what we know at Omo-agege for.
Yeah, the mace issue. I relate with that with some mixed feelings, because on the one hand, as somebody who always wants to be fair and objective about whatever I am talking about, you have to admit that he hasn't been convicted. And indeed, you know, he was never arrested. Yeah, he was escorted out of the assembly when it happened, but the police then came out to say, no, we actually took him to protect him and then for him to answer some questions. The people that took the mace seemed to have come in with him when he entered the chambers. But, you know, when they went to take the mace, he was sitting down. He wasn't with them. So he has argued and he said he doesn't know who they are. He doesn't know anything about it. And he's not been convicted. So that's on that hand. But then if we look at the circumstances around the event and the things that had led up to that point, it's not illogical to assume that he definitely knew something about it, because if you know how the 3-arm zone, the chambers of the National Assembly is structured, nobody can get into the red chambers
because the security
without some sort of escort.
Is pretty high.
Somebody must have taken them inside, or they had been cleared by someone. So who was that person and how come they walked in with him? So it's all circumstantial, and for me, to be honest, I would have preferred that our Deputy Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria would not have been somebody with that kind of question. It's a question. There are no answers yet.
Again, I like to play the devil's advocate, not because I love it, but for the balance of this conversation, I'm trying to wonder is there any, okay, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, how many Nigerian politicians don't have question marks? I might be wrong, but how many?
Yeah, but not. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, and we all know this. Yes, I mean, it's the way it is. You know.
For the purpose of argument.
In fact, it's not a question of politician. How many Nigerian individuals, how many human beings don't have something they've done wrong at some point? You know, not necessarily questionable character. Nobody's perfect. So you would have done something wrong at some point in your past. You know, but in his case.
So why can't you accommodate?
It sort of happened.
Deputy Senate President.
It sort of happened in the presence of the whole world. There are there's video evidence, you know. So I'm just saying that it's a question around him.
We have that video somewhere. We'll look for it and play it.
I would have preferred that it would have been somebody without those types of without that type of baggage, you know, around him, just for the sake of the integrity of the office, you know, and all that, and for no other reason. I have no issues with him. I think he'll probably do a good job. In fact, there are certain positions that he took during the 8th Assembly that I applaud. I think he took some principled stance in support of his party when it appeared as though the Senate presidency of Senator Bukola Saraki was going a bit too far with all the suspensions, almost arbitrary, almost dictatorial
instances, yes,
from the Senate president. Omo-Agege was one of those people that stood and said,
that was part of the thing that led to...
And that was actually part of the drama that led to the
disappearance of the maze.
So it's understandable, you know. I think he's done a very good job and all that, but you can't steal the mace of the National Assembly.
Well, they returned it. They kept it out of the bridge.
Was returned.
You know,
we're still dwelling on the personalities now. On the second segment, we'll look at what we expect from them and some other issues. But Femi Gbajabiamila has been in the news from 2015. He was, I mean, literally in 2015. He was caught napping because something else was happening while he was somewhere else. But finally, I'm guessing that when I saw him, being sworn in, I was getting that fulfillment, thing from him. It was all over his face. He's finally gotten what he wanted. But the thing is he more of a party man, or is he a people's guy? Because there's a thin line between being a party man and serving the Nigerian people. So where does this man fall, and can he give the people of Nigeria and the second chamber what we actually expect and deserve from that office? Dogara, putting him side by side, and I do not mean to play down on Gbajabiamila, but Dogara has been an amazing Speaker of the House, even though some people would beg to differ. But can he beat and double, what the standard that Dogara has already placed in that office?
Well, that looks like a circumspect question. The personality of Femi Gbajabiamila has been that he's been in the lower chamber in the last 16 years plus. And it's very critical to competition, because there has been situations, because I used to live in Surulere, where people within the constituency have told him, let somebody else go. But his intention was that Surulere was going to get, a speaker in the House of Representatives. What happened to him has happened to him, even while he was in his first year in the House, because that was the period that the whole thing happened. And I think they brought it up sometime in 2015 or so, while he has been in the House, and they overlooked it. But like I said, when there are bad things, there are ways that they always play back. And that is Nigeria. But in spite of that, nobody is condoning that people of shady character takes positions, because you're supposed to be an example to others. But be that as it may, like he rightly said, everybody has a baggage, and to err is human. What I will expect is that he will live above all those intrigues. Now that he's gotten what he wanted.
Do we see him rising above it?
Well,
because you see, we have a saying in my place that the wedding that will be good, we know from the bachelor's eve. So,
yeah, without any assumption, what I know of him is that he's a party man to the core. But whether he will now be able to switch his loyalty now to the nation Nigeria, you know, being the head of the House of Reps, the Speaker, is another thing. I mean, that's the fourth tier of government in the country. He needs to realize the saddle in which he's sitting now and leave everything party, secondary, and make Nigeria, you know, the primary thing.
Okay, interesting. Now, his deputy speaker is some guy that we all don't really know.
As usual.
Yeah, so, and this happens all the time for the deputy speakers. They're always, you know, loan sharks or, you know, lone ranger. Why does that really happen? And is it because we don't give that office as much respect and, you know, the kind of power that it deserves?
Yeah, because I think it's primarily because, you know, in the National Assembly, the Senate is even referred to as the upper chambers, you know, so it's like, I remember, I think it was the 6th Assembly where there was this little drama about the Senate is not senior to the House of Representatives, and we're trying to, the issue of equality, I think it was Senator David Mark that was president then.
Yes.
I can't remember who the speaker was then, you know, but there was this debate over, I think it was, I can't remember, you know, so, but it's become clear now with the development of our democracy that indeed the Senate is senior to the House of Reps, right? So in the hierarchy of government personalities in Nigeria, the president is number 1, the vice president is number 2, number 3 is the Senate president. And then you've got number 4 as the House of Reps, and then some people will say, okay, then after that is the
Deputy Senate President.
I don't know. From that point,
I've never heard apart from those 4.
It gets a bit hazy.
Yeah.
So that in itself should already tell us.
So it literally puts the other guy in the
it's not as big a seat as the deputy.
So, but does
Senate
that
presidency.
also, in a way, reduce his responsibility?
I don't think so.
Because the floodlights are not on him.
I don't think so. I mean, it's so. For instance, the immediate outgone deputy speaker, Honorable Lasson, I think. You know, I saw him preside over the House of Reps
when the speaker is not there.
Around, and
I think
it's a job that he
just like a Cremado will stand in for Saraki when he's not there.
I guess was one of the most known deputy speaker, because hardly would you ever remember the name of any deputy speaker. I wonder what Ihedioha did to be that famous.
Nah, I don't know. I mean, Lasson too, you know, hasn't done too badly. At least I know his name. So
a couple of people still don't know.
Yeah. So, but I think the point is just, you know, the deputy speakership is not quite as high profile a position as the deputy Senate president. So it's not surprising that people have not really paid too much attention to Honorable Wase, who is now, you know, the deputy speaker. But that's not to say that, you know, his job is not, it's still a big job.
He can't hide because Nigerians are watching
It's a big job, and he's got to.
Well, there's a lot more to talk about. It's still plus politics. We're still looking at the National Assembly. Yes, today the big story is the inauguration, and we're looking at the persons who have emerged. Now, on the other side of the clock, we're going to be looking at the job that is set before these gentlemen, and not just the speakers and the Senate president, but every member of the 9th Assembly. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.